Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Today, this is going to be a really friendly webinar where we're going to walk through the ERAS timeline and application process preparation. So first of all, this meeting is being recorded and it will be later on posted in our YouTube channel. We will share the link in our social media official American Nepal Medical Foundation page. Hello, everyone. I am Sikriti Baskoda. I am currently the chair of Mentorship Committee and one of the member of the board of directors of American Nepal Medical Foundation. Along with me, I have Dr. Dilip Buttel, who is a pediatric cardiology physician at Virginia Commonwealth University. I also have Dr. Vivek Wagle, who is a PGY3 ophthalmology resident in Ohio. With that, we're going to do a very short presentation, first by me and followed by Dr. Wagle. We're going to touch upon, can you all mute yourself?
I'm not able to hear you if you're talking.
Okay, now are you able to hear me?
Yep.
So I muted everybody in the participants. If you have any question, please feel free to use the chat box. We will get to your answers one by one as first come, first served basis. So with that, let's get started. And it's a very short presentation. So like I said earlier, I'm Sikriti and I am the chair of the Mentorship Committee. Thank you for reaching out from earlier this year. We have so far provided 50 individual mentors to the applicants for this year. Unfortunately, we have run out of our mentors pool, so we would not be able to provide any individual mentorship. But later on, we will share Google Form link to if you are interested to do small group interview and personal statement review. We will try to be as anonymous as possible for the personal statement, and for interview, we will try to put you together with the with your subspecialty of interest. If you're comfortable in doing that, please fill out the survey. We will share it with you in the chat box in a bit. So with that, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of ERAS timeline and preparation for 2024. So the topic that I'm going to cover today is introduction, followed by timeline for the ERAS application, the ERAS application at a glance, and discussion. So talking about introduction, you have to be familiar with 3 organizations that deals with the whole ERAS application process. The first one is the ERAS or the AMC. Second one is the NRMP. And the third one is the ECFMZ. I'm sure at this point, if you're planning to apply for 2024 match, you're familiar with AMC as well as the ECFMZ. So let's talk about some of the data. Five main categories in which the non-US citizen students and graduates match in United States are internal medicine, followed by family medicine, followed by pediatrics, neurology, and pathology. Pathology went to 5th spot from the 5th spot for last year. What does that mean to us? That means pathology is getting more competitive than it used to be. So talking about ERAS. ERAS is a centralized online application process. It streamlines the residency application process for the applicants, not only the applicants, for your medical school, for your letter writers, for the program directors, and for the programs as well. But to log into the ERAS, you need an AMC ID to register for the ERAS token. So this is the timeline that for 2023-2024 ERAS season. On June 28th, the ERAS season opens for international medical graduates. On June 7th, it opened for American medical graduate. As soon as it opens, applicant can access My ERAS, Medical school can also access the ERAS website, and later writers can access the letter of recommendation page, and you can also start requesting the letter of recommendation through the letter of recommendation portal. So, you have your own designated dean's office. For us, as an IMZ, the designated dean office means ECFMZ. And ECFMZ will start issuing ERAS tokens, which has already started for this season on June 28th. From September 6th, you can start submitting, this is a little bit about ERAS token. To get ERAS token, you have to log into the ECFMZ Oasis, and then see the option for the residency token, and you have to pay a non-refundable cost of $165. On September 6th, applicants can begin applying to the residency process. These are the fees for applying to individual program. If you're applying up to 10 program, it's $99. If you're applying from 11 to 20 programs, it's additional $19 each. If you're applying for 21 to 30 programs, then it is additional $23 each. And if you're applying to 31 or more, it's $27 each. You can scan the QR code on the side of this presentation. Each QR code will lead to the individual page that is being displayed. As I said, this presentation will be recorded and later on posted in our YouTube channel as well, and you can pause and scan as well. So on September 27th, residency program begin receiving and reviewing application. What does that mean? This period from September 6th and September 27th is your preparation time to make your ERAS application complete. On March 15th, the match week begins, right? And on May 31st, this season ends. So let's talk about this, right? This is the phase that we are right now. We have to start preparing for making our application complete from September 6th to September 27th. But you have to keep in mind, don't rush if you have an incomplete application and you are not able to submit your application on time. MSPE, which is usually released by your medical school, is not released by ECFMZ until October 1st. So you have a little bit of wiggle room there to still make it to finally polish your application. But if you have completed your application, I would suggest to submit your application before September 27th. So what are the part of your application? The first is the ERAS CV. There are a lot of changes in 2024 regarding the ERAS CV, and Dr. Wagley will be covering a little bit, and we will take questions afterwards. MSPE, this takes a little bit of time, so it is about time for you guys to reach out to your medical school and ask them to release a medical MSPE. Another thing is personal statement. English is not our native language. So, the main advice that I would give to any candidate who is going for the ERAS 24 season is do not read anybody's personal statement before you start writing your own. But once you complete, have it read by as many people as you can and take their constructive feedback and try to refine it. Usually personal statement should not be, ideally. For me, I would prefer it to be within a page, and it can be in a chronological order or it may not be. It's up to you how you want to present yourself, but that should present your interest, why you are a doctor, why you want to do a particular subspecialty that you are applying to, and what have you done so far to prove that you are interested in this subspecialty and what you will bring to the program. That's exactly what a personal statement is. Another thing is the USMLE course and the ECFMZ certification for international medical graduates. So this particular thing is you have to plan way ahead of time to be able to submit your application on time. Similarly, same with the elective rotations and observership opportunities. If you are applying for ERAS 2024 season in September, I would suggest start looking for any observership opportunities or elective rotation at least in minimum 1 or 1.5 years in advance. You cannot complete step 1, step 2, and then in July you cannot hunt all the mentors that you are willing to that are willing to provide their time and expertise in social media and everywhere and request them for observers. Say, please, please, please plan ahead of your time. And, I understand there are so many variables involved, like you have to pass your exams, you have to get a visa, but better be safe than sorry, right? So you always want to have a plan B planned out for you. Last one is letter of recommendations. It holds true for letter of recommendation as well. ERAS token opens on June 28th for a reason. It wants you to give an ample of time for you to request your letter writers, and it also helps letter writers to have ample of time to write the best letter of recommendation for you. So make sure you make that letter of recommendation request timely and give them ample time to upload it back to the ERAS. And this is another important duration from September 27 to March 15, where all the residency program starts receiving and reviewing application invite for the interview, and they take the interview and rank in March 15. So what is missing here? We have to understand the difference between the ERAS and NRMP. Registration with the ERAS system does not register you for any established match. ERAS system is a separate entity and does not provide matching services. To participate in the match, you have to register with NRMP, which is National Resident Matching Program. So if in this season you got any interview, you have to register for NRMP by January 31st. The NRMP registration opens on September 15th. After that, on February 1st, you start ranking the program that you interviewed for this year. And on February 28th, this is the last date or deadline to submit your rank order list. And according to what you submitted and what the program ranked, you will hear your result on the week of March 11th to 15th following year. So this is it. We can keep discussion at the end after Dr. Walkley's presentation, because I'm sure many of the questions that you have asked will be covered by Dr. Walkley as well.
All right, hey guys, let me make this full screen. Can everybody see my slide? My name is Vivek. I'm one of the ophthalmology resident here at the Ohio State University. And I'm just gonna talk about this new application system that they are rolling out from this year. The first thing I want to talk about is some disclosure and disclaimer. I do not have any disclosure related to this talk, and all the views that I'm going to talk in this presentation are my own personal views. I do not represent any organization for this talk. I do not represent my residency program. The main thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you, welcome, and thank you for being here. Applying to US residency program is not a joke, and I just salute that you are taking into this challenge and you are willing to go through this. This is gonna be difficult. This is a lot of hard work, but eventually you will be making changes in people's life, and that is something to realize about. So just be ready to work hard, and you can do this. Let's talk about some application changes that ERAS is doing from this year. I believe with COVID, a lot of applicants started applying to several programs. Give me 1 second, I have a small talk here.
Vivek, I don't think I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that hiccup. So with COVID, a lot of applicants started applying to several programs, and then they started also taking several interviews, as a result of which ERAS had to make some changes after 20 years being in service. And one of the things that they did is that they brought in this geographic preference. What it means is if you have a strong tie to any particular state, if there's a reason that you need to be there, and you want to be there for residency, it allows you an opportunity to pick that reason. And it also signals to program that you are interested in like those reasons, so they will take you more seriously. I think if you should be honest, and if you really have a geographic preference, for example, if your spouse is in one of the reason, or your parents are in those regions, or you have some kind of tie in that particular region, then you should mention that, obviously. But however, don't be however, it is equally okay to just say, I do not have any preference, if you are not related to any particular US region. So if you have a preference, then I think it will increase your chance of getting interviews. But just because you don't have preference does not mean this is going to harm you. The next thing is setting preference. Do you want to practice in rural, suburban, or urban setting, or you don't have any preference? Again, here, if you have a preference, for example, you grew up in a rural area and you just want to serve rural area, then great, you can just mention that and just write why. Or if you like diversity, you want to practice in a big urban place, then you can just write that also. However, it is also equally okay just to say, I do not have any preference. I think at the end, as long as you can explain it and it makes sense, you can go either way. The other thing and a big thing that they changed is about these experiences. They said you can list only up to 10 experiences and describe 3 of them as meaningful. And they have different experiences laid out. So some of the questions that a lot of people ask is, like, how do I come up with 10 experiences? Or what if I have more than 10 experiences? At the end of the day, what matters is quality more than quantity. If you have more than 10 experiences, that's really great. That tells you you are somebody who knows a lot. And then you just pick 10 out of those. If you have more than 10, just pick 10 which you think are interesting. And it is also okay to have less than 10 experience. For example, if I am 24 years old and I do not have a lot of experiences, then there's no way I might have 10 experiences. So it is okay if you have less than 10 experiences. Nobody is gonna fault you. And just because somebody has 10 experiences, another person does not have 10, like let's say the other person has 7, that is not going to harm the person who has 7 experiences. And the next thing, if you have more than 10, one of the strategies that you can use is you can condense. For example, where it says teaching and mentoring, if you have taught 3 or 4 different places, then you can just combine all of them and have write it as teaching experiences and just mention where you have taught and what did you learn. Again, if you have a lot of research experiences, if you can write it separately, that's great, but you can also condense it. So it is okay to condense. And the next thing I will tell you is, it is also okay to write non-medical experiences. Not everybody is just looking for medical experiences. Writing non-medical experiences will just make it more interesting during interview to talk about those topics. So feel free to write about non-medical experiences. The last thing is about the 3 experiences that you find more meaningful. I think this is a great opportunity to let the reader know what is your personality, like what do you value as those 3 main meaningful experiences. So even here, I challenge you to write those experiences that are life-changing for you, from where you learn something very meaningful. And again, it is okay to write non-medical experience here. The next thing that ERAS application changed from this year is about signaling. Signaling just means that you are hinting to the program that you are going to rank that particular program high. This might increase your chance of matching, and different subspecialty have different number of signaling that they are allowing from this year. And I think it makes sense to signal to the program. If you rotate at any particular program and you like it, signal them that you will rank them high. Even if you do not do any rotation there and you just like the program, reading on what you see in the internet or from what you heard from other people, you should signal. So I think everybody should signal. There's no reason why you would not signal a program, or you would not signal some programs. So at the end, for me, take-home points are, main thing is trust yourself. You should be confident. You should be confident in the application that you are putting together, because at the end, you are trying to sell yourself to other people. And if you don't trust yourself, if you doubt yourself, you cannot sell yourself to other people. The next thing is trust the process. A lot of people have gone through this. So learn from them and just trust it. Next one is in the application itself, it's a great way to tell your story. So like Dr. Vascoda said, do not like mix up, follow any rubric about personal statement or anything else. Just take this opportunity to show your creativity and just tell your story. Tell us why, who you are, why you want to do US residency program, and why should the program take you. Next thing is absolutely reach out to mentors. I would not have been here if it was not for several mentors, and I'm happy to mentor a lot of you. Just reach out to me or reach out to other people. We are happy to help and we are here for you. Next thing is be ready to work hard. This is not easy. You might have heard from other people, seniors, how difficult it is. So just be ready to work hard. And eventually, the last thing is don't give up. Okay, it is okay. Like being unsuccessful is okay. Just accept it. And if you just become unsuccessful, look into your application again and find out what happened and just fix it and try again next time. That is pretty much all I got. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Dr. Vivek, I have some questions about when you mentioned about the non-medical experience is okay, can you share some examples? What can be like, their experience that?
Dr. Bertol, tell me, ask that again, sorry. Something happened, I cannot hear the whole thing.
Can you hear me? Okay. So the question was, when you mentioned about the non-medical experience, what experience, can the applicant share?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So at least in America, one of the things is a lot of people have experiences working outside of medicine. So for example, working in a store. By working in a store, you can learn how to communicate with people, and you can also volunteer in non-medical fields. So for example, you can go work in a kitchen or work in a homeless shelter. From there, you are not doing anything related to medicine, but you can still have interaction with people and you can learn things about people. You can learn about how different people live their life and how you might be able to impact them. So those will be the things that I will particularly write. And I think in my own application, I had a lot more non-medical experiences than medical experiences. So yeah.
Thank you, Vivek. That was a great, wonderful presentation. I just want to highlight a few things. So ANMF Mentorship Committee is trying our best to help you in every possible way, but we want to highlight our limitations. All the mentors that are affiliated with ANMF or they are volunteering their time and expertise are expressing their own opinion. And during this process, if you're matched with a mentor or if you're working with a mentor, that person or anybody from American Nepal Medical Foundation cannot guarantee you an observership or an accommodation or interview spot or any other personalized favor throughout this process. With that, we are happy to take any questions. I have just left a Google form in the chat box. Like I mentioned earlier, we have ran out of individual mentors. For this season, we already paired 50 mentors with the mentee. If any of you, I know this is not an ideal way you want to review your PS or practice an interview, but this is the best we could provide this season. If this is something that you would like to try, we will try to maintain anonymity of your personal statement as much as possible, by not relieving a lot of an individual PS throughout these sessions. Along with that, we will try to pair you up with the same subspecialty so that you can hear anybody's answers as well for very commonly asked interview questions. And I have left the Google form. The question that we have here is, let's see. So I answered few questions in the chat box already. One question is, when is the best time to signal the program? I have no idea, but I would assume any time before, I'm not sure if they have given the timeline. Are you familiar of the timeline, Vivek?
I'm actually not familiar, but I think the sooner the better.
Exactly. I would say, like on September 27th, you can submit your entire application. So I would suggest before, I think it's September 23rd or 24th, if I haven't missed it. If you go through the frequently asked questions section of ERAS, ECFMZ, and NRMP, many of the questions that you are putting in the chat box are usually answered there. If you are planning to signal, like Vivek is saying, try to put it as early as possible. The other questions, I'm gonna pass it to Dr. Butel. Should those 3 meaningful experiences be from the 10 experiences?
Interesting. I'll let Vivek answer that question. I mean, I don't think that's gonna be from the same. You just want to make sure that you have some meaningful experience which change your perspective, right? What changed your life journey? That's what they're trying to emphasize. I have to just assume.
So to my understanding, ERAS limited to 10 experiences this season so that you can tell them what is really important for you. And out of those 10, they decided to remove the supplemental application that they tried for few subspecialty last year and brought up three impactful experiences. And those impactful experiences can be from 10 experiences or can be from something which molded you to become, for example, if you're applying for internal medicine subspecialty, which molded you to become an internist, or which molded you to become a pathologist. This is your time to showcase what have you done and what made you motivate do this subspecialty so that you are making your application strong for that subspecialty. I see the hand raised, but we are not gonna unmute anybody because we have a lot of participants. Please put your questions in the chat box.
Sukirti, while we're waiting, we're talking about the experiences, and I wanted to bring up the frequently asked question while people are writing their personal statement, right? Many of them, they have done like 2 years mandatory, government in the remote hospitals, and they were trying to write that in the personal statement. And mostly they mention this as like, oh, I was the CEO or the main person in that hospital. And you don't know what that hospital's capacity and what it is like, how much can they write in there describing about that hospital and the staffing? Because you mentioned that we need to try to do the best to get the personal statement in 1 page, right?
Right. I agree. Yes. So are we talking about personal statement? Sorry, I was trying to read.
I'm talking about the personal statement. I mean, trying to have people understand, the American people, reading the personal statement from the Nepal's experience, right? What is that hospital? If you don't know, it could be 1,000-bedded hospital,
right?
Or it could be 10-bed hospital, right? I mean, I was trying to get this, bring into the attention that whatever we write, make other people, believe that, they don't know anything about Nepal, and we need to make them understand and simplify what
Exactly.
that hospital, how many numbers, what you have done, and that to show the strength rather than weakness there. If you have managed 10 people, that's okay. Many of us, when we applied for residency, we may not have managed a single person.
Right.
So it's kind of that, I mean, to try to get that on few sentences, provide that experience where the people who is reading will understand, rather than saying, well, I was the CEO of Jumla Hospital or Damak Hospital or Kathmandu Hospital. They would have no idea, So
right. I totally agree, Dr. Bhurtel. So, like, this is the example that I give to everyone. You never know who is the person reading on the other side, and it's just a matter of the terminology that you're using. Whether you want to clarify that in 3 impactful experiences, like Dr. Bhurtel is saying, hey, this during COVID I served for like 35 bedded hospital, I was managing this many beds in the ICU by myself. Or you want to put it in the personal statement, if you are coming from a prior residency training, if you want to say, hey, I have already independently performed this procedure this many times under supervision, try to be as descriptive and as elaborated as possible. And personal statement, I would suggest to limit it to 1 page. And if you have 3 impactful experiences, elaborate the same thing in the impactful experiences in a broader aspect. So the next question we have is regarding couple match. So if you are applying to the same subspecialty and if you want to go for a couple match, there would be pros and cons to both. Like, if I think your application will be limited to the bigger cities like New York, Chicago, where there are a lot of opportunities if you're applying to a broader subspecialty like internal medicine. If you are applying to more subspecialty expertise like pathology or psychiatry, probably there are not many training institutes in the same city, which makes it really challenging for you. But you have to spend more than 14 to 16 hours a day during your residency training. And if being with your spouse is important for you, I think it's okay to specify that and go for a couple matching, but that is your individual or your decision to make. There are other couple match related blogs that is available. I can share you a link. In one of the blog is written by one of my colleague from in my website match2path.com. She has written a very wonderful blog about couple match, but of course, coming from an international medical graduate perspective, you have to think about the visa considerations and many other things and the opportunities and pros and cons and how much you're willing to compromise as well. Maybe you can only apply to Northeast and then willing to commute or meet during the weekend. There are some compromises that we tend to make, as an international medical graduate. Do you have anything to add, Dr. Bhurtel or Dr. Wagle?
Yeah, I think couple maths at the end comes down to like you just look at it. If you are okay living separately for 3 or 4 years during a residency, or would you rather diminish your chance of matching and not be living in separate places? So you are right, Isaz, that when you apply for a couple match, your chances of getting interview does go down. I think that's true, because the program have to equally like give both you and your partner, like consider both of your application as equal, or do something to grant the interview to both of you. If one of your application is weak, then I think it will hurt both of you. So yeah, couple mass is a tricky thing. But if both of you are a strong candidate and both of you would rather not live separately for the next 3 or 4 years, I think it makes sense to apply for couple match.
So, Sukriti, there is a question that, writing to the program director, would it increase the chance of interview? And if so, when can we write, Should we write or not is the first question. If so, when is the best time?
So, all of the program directors will tell you the same thing. Writing a letter of intent during the application process is not helpful to get you an interview, But I would advise, in my personal experience, this is what I would say. I would first wait until majority of your friends are, like you have reached until November. If you do not have any interview calls and you have strong interest in that program, or if you have done an observership in that program, somebody has worked with you, then, writing a polite letter that, hey, I have my family in the town, I'm really interested in the area, might help, but it won't guarantee you an interview spot, nor it will guarantee you that the program director will read and prioritize your application. It's just one more thing that you can do with a hope that your application will get reviewed.
Yeah, I think I agree. If you have a strong reason, you can try. It is not going to hurt you, but I don't think it is going to help you a lot either. Because think about from the program director perspective, how many letter of intent do you think a program director receives? And he or she will receive several hundreds of a letter of intent, and how many interviews can they give out? So it's not going to hurt you. If you are going to lose your sleep thinking you did not write a letter of intent, that's why I did not get an interview, go ahead and write it down. But it's not going to increase your chance significantly higher either. But if it is a program you'd rather not miss, then I think go ahead and write it. Write it if you have a strong reason. Just yeah.
Thank
So
you.
there was a question about year of graduation, right? In the application, I think Sukiti, you also tried to answer that in the chat box.
Yes.
What should be the year of graduation? Is it going to be subtracted from the 2024 match or the
2023, when you were submitting the application, and you subtract it from the time of your graduation certificate, from the date and year of your graduation certificate.
So the next question is, do IM applicants need IMSEL or IMLOE? If needed, what should we upload,
I don't think so, but like I answered in the chat box, please check through the frequently asked questions page. If it is a mandatory, it's usually highlighted very well in the ERAS application, ERAS website, I mean to say.
So there was another question, like if we choose any regional preferences, can we still apply for programs outside that region? Does it decrease match chance outside my preferred region?
So if you are specifying the preferred region, all of the program directors can see which preferred region you have applied to. So definitely, like they will definitely ask you this question, hey, you have chosen this preferred geographic region, but you're still applying to your program. Do you want to clarify that? If you can convince the program director, hey, this is my reason why I am focusing on this geographic region, but I'm willing to move anywhere. I think by this time, all of the program directors are quite know that international medical graduates are open to move anywhere in the country. So I would not say that is a downside, but if you are planning to apply broadly, it can be a double-edged sword depending on where you are applying.
So there's another question in the postgraduate training section. Can we mention our home country residency there, as it mentioned it as a SEGME accredited residency, but later says enrolling? Okay.
No, the short answer is no. The postgraduate training should specify only the training program which was if it is accredited postgraduate training that you did, but you can always put it in an experience and you can, like Dr. Buttel was saying, specify everything you did for the last 3 years. I can talk about pathology, like if you did 10 grossings a day, if you did 20 FNAs a day, if you looked at 20 cyto specimen, same with internal medicine. If you, independently looked at patient in the clinic, if you independently managed ICU patient, every single experience you can highlight. And I would say if anybody is applying after residency, one of your 3 impactful experiences should be your 3-year residency and what you did.
The next question is, when is the right time to take step 3 in case of time constraint allowing you to complete only one of your step 3 before applicants deadline, which should be given high priority, USC or step 3?
I think if your step 1 or step 2 is high, give priority to USC. If your step 1 or step 2 is not that high, then maybe give priority to the step 3. But ideally, I think if you have USC and step 3, that will make you a more stronger candidate.
So another determining factor for that, if you ask me, is which visa you are willing to come, and it also depends upon person to person. their family circumstances. For instance, if you have a husband already here or a wife already here, and you really want to be here in H-1B visa so that you can expedite your permanent residency processing later, then you have to prioritize step 3. If you are willing to go for a compromise and you are saying that, hey, I can do my residency training in J1 and complete my J1 waiver before applying for permanent residency, then you can compromise on step 3 and go for ASCII. It's a fine balance that you decide by talking to multiple people, trying to share their experiences. And the other thing that, I'm not sure, especially I can talk about pathology. I don't know about internal medicine or anything. Most of the program just required you to pass step 3. Okay, they don't expect you to score a very high marks. If you pass step 3, it's like a guarantee for the program that you won't be expelled from that residency program during your training, right? That is one of the requirement for you to graduate through the residency program. That is the main reason why they want to see step 3, else than the visa requirement for H1.
Thank you. And there's another question. Is a letter of recommendation from the medical school HOD is necessary?
What do you mean by HOD? If you have done
yes, the head of the department, that's what I mean. The question is HOD, head of the department. I don't know. Is it necessary from the principal or head of the department? That's coming from Pranab Joshi. You can email with this more specific,
No, I can elaborate a little bit. If you have done a prior residency, then it makes a lot of sense to have your head of department write a recommendation letter for you. If you haven't done a residency and if you're coming right out of your medical school training, most of the programs still want a letter from your medical school head or somebody. That's like a requirement. So it varies between the different programs that you're applying in the residency. If that is one of the criteria that they are asking for, you have to provide. If you want to make it optional to the programs which are not asking you for that, then you can make it optional.
So there's another question that, how do we explain the change in subject in personal statement, as if like you may have done the graduation or residency in some subject and you're coming to US and you want to apply for something else. How do you...
Let me just answer this last question about the head of department. I think it's an important question and I think it makes sense. If you can get it, one of the things that the head of department letter of recommendation can do is it can combine different professors or different attending physicians comment together, and then it can present, it will still be a single letter of recommendation, but it can have multiple parts saying this attending said this about this particular statement in one paragraph, and then another paragraph will be this, another attending is saying this about the student. So it will still be one person writing the whole letter, but it can act as multiple people commenting about you. So I think it makes sense if you can get a head of the department letter of recommendation.
With the caveat that the letter would be done as what you just mentioned.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And if you hope the letter will be done in that way, because you study there. And sorry to cut you off. It was about the change in subject.
Exactly, change in specialty.
Yeah, dermatology.
That is a tough question. If you are changing the subspecialty, you can, I don't know how but you have to be able to convince them there is a reason why you want to change. Maybe you didn't like subspecialty A, that's why you want to move to subspecialty B. Or you can even say dermatology is too competitive, and internal medicine was always my interest, so I want to pursue that. But to back up that, you have to have some experiences to show that you're really interested in internal medicine. The other thing you can do probably is elaborate what you like about internal medicine and dermatology in common in personal statement. Like you can say, I always loved seeing patients in a dermatology outpatient clinic. You'll still be seeing patient as a medicine resident. You have to find your likings and be able to elaborate on that.
So there's another question from Vishnu Shapar. Does having graduation year more than 9 years but have done masters, could there be chance to get interview in programs having less than 5 years or less than 2 years? So it's kind of like graduation from medical school and having 9 years, you know.
So there are programs which have a hard cutoff. They will put a filter and they will not even review your application. It also depends on which subspecialty you are applying for. Pathology, they do not like to use these specific filters because a lot of the candidates who are applying actually have a postgraduate training program. I think this trend is increasing in other specialties as well because of the only pass and fail changes in the USMLE scoring system. You know, we cannot say like which program will take you, which program will not. It's a risk that you have to take and decide. Many of the programs only have but I can say that many of the programs only have a soft cutoff for your year of graduation. Dilida, you're muted.
Another question that asking, do we need to have LOR from our workplace?
So I think for that, what I will say is if you have worked in a place for several years, and if you have written about that place in several portions of your application, I would like to see LOR from their workplace. But if it is just a 1 month or 2 month and you have not made a big deal out of it in the application itself, it's okay not to have it. And at the end, even if you work several years and you cannot get an LOR from there, that's okay. It's okay. But I think if you have worked several years and have written it on several parts of your application, it's good to have LOR from there to back up what you are saying.
Next question is, do telerotation count as USC? Can we upload LOR from teleobservership?
Definitely. During COVID, all the candidates were doing telerotation. There are some telerotations which usually write the same letter of recommendation for all the applicants, you know, which of course being on the applicant side, you won't be able to identify that. But if that's the only thing that you were able to do, I think you should put it. But if you're doing online courses where no one was moderating you, except for those that are endorsed by the national organization, I don't think that will help. But observership and telerotation, definitely.
Next question is, there is a section in additional information, right? BLS, ACLS certified in the USA. Does that count if we are BLS and ACLS certified by AHA, but in Nepal?
I have no idea about that.
I think, you know, I mean, this certification has started in Nepal now. If it's, as long as I can see that, I think we should be able to do it because it's endorsed by AHA and the mentors and who are doing the courses are basically certified mentors. So you should be able to write that experience. I can comment on that based on what I've heard from my colleague who is providing the courses in Nepal.
And Dr. Butel, anyway, you will be trained for BCLS and ACLS once you start your residency training, right? So I don't think this is very like must-do thing in your application. If you do not have, don't break your head over it. Basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You know, no one expect when you go and walk in the residency, even if you have done all the courses, no one will let you go and do it, you know, until they see you.
Exactly.
Especially if you're not trained in US, you know.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, please do not do BLS or ACLS thinking it will rank you higher than any other candidate.
Yes.
So do you recommend getting paid mentorship mock interviews from US-based institutes which are offering it?
I am always against paid anything, you know. So if you ask my personal opinion, no. But if that's the only way you're getting help, that is for you to decide. Maybe you can talk to your friends. Maybe you can even practice with your family members who doesn't even need to be in medicine, you know. Interview skills is a lot more about how you communicate, how you present yourself, how spontaneous you are, rather than trying to nail something.
To add on that, Sukirti, we're not sure which organizations are doing it. You know, we cannot comment on that.
Exactly.
People see in US, you know, people seek help in everything, how to walk, how to talk, how to, you know, wave, you know. So if you are thinking of that way, obviously, you know, we would not hold your hands on that, you know, I mean, that's up to you. But we, especially we can talk about ourselves, whatever we are doing on behalf of ANMF and our personal, you know, hours we're keeping, you know, this is not paid at all. And I do not personally know about the paid, mock interview institutes, which I can recommend, or, especially. So I agree with Sukirti, we got to be careful about that.
And one thing I think a lot of applicants, even myself, went through this when I applied was this fear of missing out. Meaning like when a lot of people do this, I don't do that. And then at the end, if they end up matching and I did not end up matching, I might just say because they matched because they did that paid mentorship. So I think you should recognize fear of missing out and sometimes just say it's okay. It's okay. They can do what they want, but I know my path. I'm going to do this and be okay with it.
So next question is, my year of graduation is 2014 and it's clearly given programs cut off at 5 years. I don't have a postgraduate degree too. What are my chances?
So to answer your questions, you have to be able to show, it's not everyone comes with a postgraduate degree. Maybe you were a mother, maybe you were sick, maybe you were working somewhere. If you are able to show what you did during those gap years, and as long as you were up to date with medical field doing one thing or the other, I don't think that's a huge sign. But again, you're entering into an international platform, right? So maybe you have some researchers to back up. Whatever you have, you need to be able to showcase that.
Going back to the first part of that question, when the programs really have the cutoff like 5 years, they don't even look at the applications, right? I mean, then there's no, how can you even mention what you just mentioned, Sukirti? They are not going to open your application.
Yeah, that's true. There will be programs who will use the automatic filter and filter out your application, but that doesn't mean that every single program in the country will automatically filter your program. Your chances will probably decrease, but not to that extent that you won't get any interview.
And in this particular situation, I would recommend you write an intended letter, once that application starts, because there's definitely, my experience, I was more than 10 years, but I was already working and doing post-graduation. And I did write to the program directors. That's my experience, but doesn't mean that, they would open, but I did write to them because I knew that they would not open up my application without me writing to them, and they responded. That's the perfect example here. Good luck with your application.
Another question we have is by when should we have our step 3 examination taken for this match cycle? So you have to understand why you want to take your step 3. If you want to take step 3 to strengthen your application, better to take it before September 27th. If you want to take step 3 to secure H-1B visa, then when the ERAS transitions from 2023 to 2024, usually step 3 do not report. The scoring system goes down from January to March. That's why it is recommended that you give step 3 by early December so that you can get your result before the match day, so that the program knows that you are step 3, you have finished step 3, you have passed step 3, and you qualify for H-1B visa. So it's up to you why you want to take step 3.
Okay, so there's one more question. Is there a difference if we get the LOR from a clinic or the university letterhead?
I have gone through so many letters from for my subspecialty, it would be individually standing labs than a university. I have gotten so many beautiful letters from the individually standing laboratories who wrote beautifully about that person. I would give both the letters equal value. You do go through an observership to learn about US health system, to show your interest in a particular subspecialty that you're applying to, and if your letter writer is able to convey that to me, it doesn't matter from where I'm getting that letter.
I totally agree on that. Is the recommending person's recommendation, how he writes about you matters more, but obviously sometimes we think that the university might be automatically taken considered, that might not be true if the LOR is not that what you're expecting.
So we are almost at 9 p.m. Maybe take one or two more questions.
Is it necessary to be in the USA during our interview?
No.
No.
No, I think you should be somewhere where you have a good internet. That's what matters.
Make sure that you have good internet, your face is well lit up, they can see your entire face, have a backup internet. There are so many resources now you can read about how to give a virtual interview, and as long as you are presentable, you can be anywhere around the world.
So one more question, Sukiti. I've heard that 3 to 4 LORs are required for each program. What is the preferred number of LORs from, and then home country and from US observers you would make a strong application?
More than home country and US, I would suggest if you are applying to neurology, you should at least have 2 LORs from neurology attending. Others can be even a family practice attending, but that person needs to specify in your letter of recommendation that you are applying to neurology residency and not family practice. And if you have more US observerships than home country and you want to put all as US observership, that's fine too. But if I was reviewing your letter, I would still want to see one letter from your home country to see how you did throughout your medical school.
So as to summarize, I would like, to get some highlights point from Sukiti and Vivek and from our discussion. What the program directors are looking for is you as an individual, how motivated you are, and how good a team player you're going to be. And honestly, the scores, you already know, step 1 doesn't matter. Step 2, they would look at. And what you have done, your experiences, the way you share your story matters, So, and be what you are. Don't try to panic, thinking about the things what you don't have. I believe each of you are really good candidates and you have done a lot already. It's just the way that our culture is not good at showing and explaining things, what we've already done, until medical school and after medical school, managing all the cases in ER in the rural part of the country. We have tons, this is what I'm sharing with you all, that we all have done a lot of experiences. What we are not good enough is to show that we've done a lot and to present that in our 1-page personal statement. So as Dr. Basfala mentioned earlier, write that without looking at anyone else's personal statement and then have it read by many people, and we are trying to accommodate as many as possible. And in few weeks, we're going to do some group session on personal statements and the Google form. I think, Sukiti, you're going to share that, right?
Already shared it.
The registration form in the chat link, as well as we're sharing that on the emails, whatever we have received.
And we will share it in ANMF Facebook page as well. Follow us in ANMF Facebook page for our updates. Sometimes our email inbox do get overwhelmed by the number of requests we get. So be patient to hear back from us. Thank you, everyone. Good luck. And wish you all the best this season.
And just remember, you can do this. Okay, don't lose hope. You can do this. Just keep working hard. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.